Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I am going to be sharing with you how to spot a Capricorn. Thank you for waiting, all my Capricorn friends. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and give it a thumbs up. I am still going to be coming over to Patreon at some stage as well. So I've just had to move house and I've had so many other things going on. It never fucking ends. So I'm sure you guys can understand and appreciate that. This is all free knowledge that I share. So that being said, hello, my sea goat friends. I have so much respect for the Capricorns. I'm very fond of them, and a lot of the Capricorns know that. I have a lot of people that are Capricorn and have found my channel. So whether they come because they want the real shit, they want the truth, they want to hear the stuff that no one else will say, I'm prepared to share things of this nature. So it's really, really cool. If you'd like to book me for an astrology reading or a spiritual counseling session, please go to my website and you can just book me from there, and all of the details are there as well. So I started this series sharing some thoughts and things about how to spot a sign. These days it's very easy for me to spot signs. I've been doing this for a long time as a full-time working astrologer. What we look like, how we behave, our psychology, it's all connected to the soul, and the soul's all connected to the spiritual DNA that makes a human up. So it's all real, it's all there. Yes, it is the moon sign, your inner world, your rising sign, your outer world, in your sun sign, it's all there. When I think of Capricorn, I think of the movie Benjamin Button, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. They're pretty straightforward in the way to spot them physiologically. Now, that being said, I have mentioned before that as a human ages, we look more like our rising sign. So as I get older, I definitely have the Sagittarius appeal, the scorpionic energy there in me, but I understand that I probably will end up looking more like an Aries. And all charts are different. All degrees are different. How many degrees you are in certain aspects of your chart will determine a lot of your personality as well. So every now and then when I'm looking at charts, I will see that someone may have a very, very small degree in their sun sign. There might be like 5 degrees in the Capricorn in their sun sign and be like 32 degrees in their rising. So in nature and in astrology, the biggest energy wins. So where that placement is mostly placed, that's where usually the person's traits will be mostly placed as well. But everything in the chart is in relation to everything else within the chart. Okay? So some Capricorns may listen to this and go, oh, I don't really know. Well, it's because your rising is very, very strong. Okay? Capricorns are very, very easy to spot. They usually are not in a crowd and they're very serious. When their face relaxes, the corners of their mouth turn slightly down. A lot of the Capricorn women have very thin lips, which makes them look quite mean. And a lot of Capricorn women will go and have work done on their face. They will have injectables in their cheeks, fillers. They'll get those big slug lips. Very, very common for a Capricorn girl that is trying to obtain a visual aesthetic that she can't naturally obtain. The only problem is that it looks fake. It doesn't look natural. It looks weird and it hurts. And everyone else knows that, but no one really wants to say it. Like when you've got lips that are completely disproportionate to your face, for a Taurus person, that would look ridiculous. But for a Pisces person, that would look like you're a porn star, which would give a look of over accentuation of the lips, which obviously would be kissing and oral sex, which is really that aesthetic that the baby doll Pisces would want. Capricorns don't want to be your baby doll, all right? But they will charge you for sex. I knew, I'll give some examples here. Well, in this chat, these chats are very personal and they're very real. So just putting it out, if you just heard what I said and that offended you, then it's probably best that you just go find another channel or just switch away now, because this is real talk. Capricorns have a discipline about them that is slightly detached from society, and they have a rigid stiffness to their energy. This is very, very commonly mistaken for a Scorpion. A lot of the time I get mistaken for a Scorpio, or I get mistaken for the Capricorn myself, because it's just like, here's the truth. It's dry, it's hard, there it is. Take it, or, I'm a kid from the 80s and 90s, I don't give a fuck what you have to say. That type of thing. I have that energy, and Capricorn has that as well. All right, so they, a lot of Virgo women are strippers or have done sex work, whether they'll admit it or not. And a lot of Capricorn women will, if they can't obtain the lifestyle that they feel that they deserve, depending on where their rising and moon is, they probably would have done a fans only, or they would have been like a friend of mine that her name was Kelly, actually. I remember meeting Kelly. I'm giving you an example of a Capricorn. Her work ethic was incredible. And Kelly was a very beautiful girl. She was a former gymnast. And like most Capricorns, her childhood was very, very rough. And her parents didn't understand her and were very, very, how would I put it, not really willing to accept her as she was. She was actually a lesbian. So that she was a gay girl that was from a country town. And she ended up becoming a stripper in a male strip club in Melbourne. I think it was called the Spearmint Rhino. I think that was the one that she worked at. Like a lot of Capricorns, I'll have multiple jobs. So they might finish a job. She'd start her work shift at midnight and then work until 3. And then she'd run across the road to another strip club and do another paid job there. And then she might even go to another job after that in the morning and help set up the kebab shop at her friend's house at Musti's. So that's the work ethic. Although she wasn't attracted to men in that regard, she saw it as a way for herself to free herself financially, to put herself through university. Capricorns all have a game plan. All right. And if the Capricorn abandoned you, it's because you didn't serve their game plan. And she was aloof. She was nicely spoken, and I'd come to her house. And back in the day, I used to do remedial massages. And so she'd book me because her legs would be fucked. She needed someone to do deep tissue work on her legs and hips. And I had done a remedial diploma. And that's how I met her, through the school that I went to at the time, doing my study there. And she just found the best, and she wanted the best. Capricorn want the best, and they only accept the fucking best. She was cold, but she was fair. There was a cold rigidness to her energy, much like Virgo energy. She would put on a character, and she would tell me stories. It took a long time to get to know her, and it takes a long time to get to know Capricorns, male or female. Their first impression isn't usually their best impression, all right? So Be patient with them. Even their second impression, their second time that you meet them, it's not the best. You have to warm up to them. They have to warm up to you. All right. So they may have this kind of deadpan facial expression, which I've come to understand isn't them being a bitch or being a standoffish cunt. It's more of them assessing you. All right. They're assessing you. That's what they're doing when they're looking at you, when they're staring at you. They don't look at you like a Taurus does, where they give you this very deep stare with their brown eyes, which is very hypnotic and very sexual. Capricorns would rather talk business first. And if they are a sex worker, then it's POA, as she taught me back in the day, payment on arrival. And no money, no honey, okay? So that's the truth. She had a very muscular body. A lot of Capricorns are not overly tall. I don't mean a lot of Capricorns. I'd meet a lot of them that are very, very tall, even for the men. A lot of Capricorns have very thin legs. They don't have thick legs like a Sagittarius. You'd have to assess their chart to look at the physiological structure. They may have the odd tattoo here and there, but it will mean something very deeply to them. If it's an insecure Capricorn that may have a very strong placement within Sagittarius or the Pisces, the Capricorn may cover themselves in tattoos completely, like really cover themselves in tattoos. Their projection is everything to the Capricorn male in particular. So they will lift heavy weights at the gym, have the protein powders. They will definitely get on testosterone. They'll get on any level of something that can increase the muscle growth. They understand that their projection is very, very, very important, and they endure. That's the sign. Capricorn is the sign of enduring trials and tribulations. And anyone who books me for an astrological report, we talk about that in the reading. Okay, so anyone that doesn't know this, the Capricorn isn't just a mountain goat, it's a sea goat. So it is two beings, both of opposites infused together. And it's not like one gets the day shift and one gets the night shift. This is more like a goat pulling a tail of a fish up a hill. So often the outcomes of Capricorn's lives are horrible. This is the sign. Anyone born under Saturn, under Satan, is going to be having a hard time. And that's the power of the Capricorn. They're like a Super Saiyan. The more that you destroy them, the more that you hurt them, the more enduring they become, the stronger they become. The more setbacks they have, the more they work harder. This is a working class sign. They're not big, they're not flashy like a Leo. They don't have the stage presence of a Leo, where they're like, it's me, everyone, it's me again, and I'm your mentor. And they want to put themselves in high positions, like a student-teacher relationship where they're higher than you. That's not Capricorn. These guys are leaders and delegators. So they'll let you lead and do your thing, but they don't need to be out on the front of the stage. They're happy working the back because they're still the boss. Okay? These guys leave a legacy long after they're gone. And it was strange, even just going back to meeting Callie, the Capricorn, the stripper. One day I came to her house and she wasn't there, and she'd booked me for a massage, and she was fascinated by my knowledge of the occult and stuff like that. And we'd talk about all this type of stuff and talk about real heavy duty stuff. Capricorns don't like to fuck around with talking about fluffy shit. They know life is hard, life is dark, it's full of darkness, and the world that we're living in isn't this, Disney film. The Disney film is what they give you as kids to get you on the hook, where people say stuff like, anything is possible. Like Capricorn knows that's not true. Okay, so it's like we talk about Russia, we talk about Putin, we talk about Elvis Presley, who was also a Capricorn. We talk about how the best always die young. All right, Muhammad Ali was a Capricorn. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. All right. One day I came to her house and she wasn't there, and she had misbooked herself, or she had fallen asleep because she'd been out working all night making the money, because money makes Capricorns feel safe, right? Same as the Cancers. They're all about risk-taking. Cancer is the opposite on the chart of Capricorn, but yeah. So it's all about risk assessment. Don't be a big risk to them. That's how you're going to get to know them. All right? And she wasn't there. And so when I text her saying, hey, I came around and you weren't there, she transferred me money immediately because she knew that I'd driven to her house. She knew that I'd waited for her. She was fair. She understood she'd fucked up. She'd forgotten, or something had gotten in the way, and she, for whatever reason it was, whatever energy you give Capricorn, they give you back. All right? That's fair. And that's how they are. It's an honor code. It's a very strong sense of honor with these people. Okay? So don't think just because they come off like a little bit standoffish and they're very quiet, they might be sitting on their own looking at you a lot. You have to start the conversation to initiate. So if you're in a club or a bar, you're usually going to have to be the one to go across the room and make the first move. And Capricorns would love you for that, okay? Unless they've got an air in their chart, in their rising or moon, or they've got fire in their chart, like a Leo or a Sag or an Aries, Capricorns aren't going to be making the first move. But it will be worthwhile, all right? So a lot of them, as they age backwards, they become, they go through their like teenage phases as they get older. So they'll go through in their 30s, that would really be their late teens. But when they come into this life, usually Capricorns are born, and I'm sharing something with you that which you may not know in terms of karma loka and reincarnation. When it comes to the sign of the sea goat, a lot of them are paying back karmic debt from previous lives. So a lot of them incarnate into very lower in the astral world. When I say astral world, different levels of incarnation are based and assessed on levels of your ability to learn and adapt and grow and love and forgive and things like that. So a lot of them will be coming into third world countries. A lot of them are born to parents that cannot give them what they want. And rather than be a little bitch about it, they basically just kind of get on with it. They just recognize this is not the country that I want to live in, and they're going to work out a strategy to get a visa to go to another country. This sign will falsify relationships to get into other countries to get green cards. This sign will be on shows like, it's really disgusting. That show, it's a lot of shows on TLC are terrible, but one of them would be like 90 Day Fiancé. A lot of Capricorn men will do that to women. Well, they'll try and use the woman to get into another country, even if they're double their age. A lot of young Capricorn women do that as well. It's just part of their survival. I know that might offend people, but it's just the truth. I've seen it so many times play out. A lot of young Capricorn men will even hook up with older people to learn about life. They know that young people just don't have the knowledge of life. So they get around people that have the power that they want. And they are usually polite and kind because they know that they can't burn all their bridges. They know that, you have to be nice to everyone because you never know when someone might be able to help you. And Libra knows that too. Capricorn know that as well. They never forget where they came from, All right, Capricorns, no matter what they've gone through, they never forget their homeland. They never forget. They come from the Bronx. They come from a dysfunctional family. They come from divorced families. A lot of them run away from home. You know, a lot of them come to Hollywood. They've got very, very strong intentions. The will of a Capricorn is very, very strong in the free will, much like Aquarius. And so they find their way through life, and they're dragged through life. It's a drag. Okay, but I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just saying it's part of their resilience about who they are. And ultimately, a Capricorn male, Capricorn man is like a daddy. You know, he is his idolized version of himself would be running businesses, running franchise, having staff. They're very bossy. A lot of them can be very bossy. They're leaders and they're dominators. So it would be them sitting in like a mahogany room in a leather chair with a cigar, very fresh fade on the side of their hair in their haircut, very well groomed beards, and, you know, having a whiskey and counting their money. That type of energy. Ebenezer Scrooge would be the darker side of a Capricorn. And part of the Capricorn's incarnation is to learn to stop that shit, to stop being a measly person. The darker side of a Capricorn female in an older woman would be a teacher, or, I know this is going to sound really hard, but a darker Capricorn type of energy would be like Aunt Lydia from The Handmaid's Tale, like that evil bitch with like a cattle prod who like electrocutes maids and orchestrates running someone else's life completely. That level of thing, because they don't drop the ball. I will share with you, if you don't know this, but if you ever meet a Capricorn that is born on the 5th of January or the 12th of January, I don't know the significance or why, but they tend to be way more on the Machiavellian psychopathy scale, just those two dates. There are getting tongue-tied. There are very specific dates which I have learnt in my knowledge of the occult and astrology with certain people, which those dates are very, very dangerous. I have them actually diarized in a Gothic grimoire, which I wrote like a book that I have at home, which I'm sharing with you, the dates of the most dangerous dates of a human. And when you look at those dates, you'll find that people born on those specific dates in history will all be of very, very heavy significance in the world. Like we're talking about like world leaders, Adolf Hitler, that type of thing. They're all like Ted Bundy, 24th of November. A lot of dates and numbers in the universe are very connected to specific frequencies of personality types and also levels of influence. Okay, so those dates that I just mentioned with Capricorn, if you meet someone on the 5th or the 12th, there's usually something not quite right there, and I would caution you. I'll also say as well, if you meet a Capricorn sun sign that has a lot of a Sagittarius in their rising or in their moon, this can also be a very, very big problem, because once a Capricorn latches onto a religious structure, because religions are structures, depending on how evil or how dark they are. One of the most evil ones that a Capricorn can get attached to would be Islam. They become zealots. They will become suicide bombers. They will hurt people. And they will justify the enforcing of pain on others all kind of under the guise of a higher force, which is what religion does in a lot of ways. I remember back in the day, I know this is very heavy, but back in the day, the Nazis had a symbol emblem which said doing God's work that was on their badge. That it's like that was on their badge. Like, so that actually anything that can be justified by a higher force of God that you're enforcing is that you're now acting as an enforcer of a higher force. And when Capricorn gets a hold of that, they can become very, very dangerous. All right. So if you know any Capricorn people that are into Islam, you'll know that it is not a religion of equality or peace. This is super dangerous stuff. And they know that. And they really go to town with the Quran. I've seen this with a couple of people. It's funny, I've had so many lives, and I'm 39 now, and I've just learned a lot, but they'd hate me exposing that, but it's the truth. You know, it's very dangerous when you meet an Islamic Capricorn, because that level of punishment and kill the infidel, they really take it to an extreme level. This is an extreme energy. All right, so I hope that made sense. And it can be very powerful when the Capricorn sun is amplified by, say, an Aries or a Sagittarius, because they have a commanding presence about them. And if they get a hold of a microphone, they can actually really, They can really indoctrinate a lot of people into their way of thinking. And they do it with judgment and shame and pain. Okay, so I hope that made sense. So please be careful. I'm just mentioning that now. Even a Capricorn with the Leo rising can be very, very powerful. Okay, so moving on. So it's like having a cigar, having a whiskey. They're kind of like the ultimate daddy in a way. They are all about risk assessment, so you can't be a big risk to them in a relationship. If they meet you and they think that you've had lots of sex with lots of people, they don't like that. They understand that discipline creates freedom. So when people are lazy, when people can't take care of their own body, when they can't take care of their own health, Capricorn couldn't give a fuck about you. And they will, much like the Scorpio, they will push you away and they will cut you off. They don't care. They don't have empathy for you, and they don't care. If you aren't doing the work within yourself, then the Capricorn can't be bothered with you. This is a sign that is all about quality over quantity. They don't need to have sex with tons of hot girls. They just need one hot girl that will be loyal to them. This sign does deal in absolutes, so they do have a lot of black and white and rigid thinking about life and situations, and they like to oversee things. This is a sign that is all about planning and organizing the future. So if they meet you and you don't have a future and you've got nothing going on and you're not aware of your strengths and weaknesses, or you're working towards your goals, they aren't going to see how you're going to fit into their life. Okay? It's just really kind of how they are. They are analyzing you, and they go over situations a lot to try and understand things from different angles. A lot of Capricorns book me for astrological readings because the way that I'm communicating right now, I'm not like, this is real talk, and Capricorns value that. They appreciate the real shit. Okay, so it's just like, I get along with them actually, and I actually feel that I'm compatible with this sign. There is just such a beauty in the endurance of who they are. A lot of them are always the underdog. So they'll be knocked down in life. They often have to rebirth themselves quite a lot. Not as much as Scorpio or Sagittarius, but a lot of the rebirths are very, very big shifts. Like and all sudden. So everything that gets made in the Capricorn's world, you usually find it gets ripped away, like building a sandcastle. They build it, it gets knocked over. Then they just build another sandcastle. That one gets knocked over. And each time that they rebuild themselves, they learn about what didn't work the time before. They learn that you put it too close to the sea. You put it too close to this part of the wind. You've got to, they're strategic. All right. So if they're working on something and it's not working, then they're going to change their strategy. This is a strategy-based sign. Capricorn and Aries never work. Gemini and Capricorn never work. I never see them together in their placements in terms of compatibility with partnerships. Caps hate mind games, and Capricorns can't stand Cancerians. Cancerians love to play emotional mind games where they love bomb you and ghost you and come out and then retreat and go into like avoid attacher and they're not aware of it. Capricorn's love relationship style and attachment style is avoid attach from the very get-go. So you might send a big long heartfelt email or text message to them and you might even get 2 words back. The quickest way to turn them off is to come at them with a drunk text in the early hours of the morning, or be completely hysterical. Any level of emotional outpour, messy, complicated babbling and crying and being completely insane. They cannot handle that. They don't want that, and they will get rid of you very, very quickly. They will block you and forget you. That's how these guys work. They don't dwell on the past. This sign is always focused on the future, and I love that about them. The reverse, however, is the Cancerian, which is the flip of the chart of the opposite of the Capricorn, which is Capricorns live in the future but age backwards, and the Cancers live in the past, and they live in revisiting memories and replaying them over again in their head. Capricorns don't really want to do that. They know what happened. They just don't want to talk about it. They'd rather just focus on what's happening now. All right. So any level of that thinking, they don't want that. They don't like that. So that's I'm giving you some really hot tips here as well, just about how to date them. They will befriend people, and they know that slow and steady wins the race. They know that anything that starts up really quick will usually end just as quick. This is an earth sign. It is a fixed energy. Okay, so ultimately they are slow and methodical. They take their time. They do the work. They study. They get the extra credits to get higher up the ladder. They are game. They have game. So they know that when you go to work, a lot of what we do in work is just playing a character, and they will play that character with you. All right. So it's all characters. It's all psychological. It's all about approach. They know that. A big part of your life and the success of your life is building connections and getting into groups that are higher of other groups, like high levels. So rich people only hang out with rich people. And if you're poor and you're not in that club, or if you come from a lower working class family, you wouldn't even know that these levels of consciousness exist. Capricorn already know that. They're born knowing that, and they want that in their life. So they want to get around people in the corporate world. They want to get around people that can teach them how to multiply their money, get more houses, get more stability. They're all about stability. And at times they can be quite underhanded at getting it as well. All right, just think about what I said. Just process that. Yeah, there's a toughness to them. This is a psychological person. They're problem solvers. A lot of them are not flexible in physiological structure, like a Gemini. They're not like little gymnasts. These guys are more like power lifters, hot pockets, that type of thing. They're usually, like I mentioned, they've got brown eyes, very usually brown eyes and wiry hair. Capricorns physiologically have very cute little teeth. their teeth are like little dolphin, little dolphin teeth. They're very, very cute. Like little squares, like little tic tacs. Their teeth are very small in proportion to the shape of their mouth and their skull. Male Capricorns usually have a larger shaped skull as well, and they like wearing ties and business suits. And this is the sign that will have an Instagram page, which is like every picture of them is styled to perfection, sitting on the edge of like a Balinese, waterfall, or, very, very staged. And it shows this perfect projection, but it doesn't show us anything emotional. Sagittarius, like myself, I become frustrated with them when they do that, because you don't know who they are. It's like, can you please stop projecting this perfection thing like Virgo does? Can you please show me who you really are? If someone told a Capricorn that they're fat, that is soul crushing to them, and they'll starve themselves and sit for days on end fasting, and they kind of sit in the pain of that like Virgo does. And a lot of like self-hate and revenge through success is a big motivator of the Capricorn. And their fighting style is brawler. So they fight to kill, they shoot to kill. Much like the Taurus, when they're enraged, the Capricorn's eyes turn black. A lot of Capricorns are very, very strong spiritualists, and because their free will is so strong. All right. So this is the sign of a person that can actually have quite a great level of success from just their own projection and their own strong sense of self. So when they step up to the spiritual world, they wouldn't waste their time with like little lower deities. They would want to go to the big dog straight up. They step up to the plate. All right, they've got that commanding energy. This is big dom daddy energy. All right, so yeah. I remember living with a Capricorn briefly, and they're quite mysterious. They're very stoic. They don't share a lot about themselves. That's kind of like a weak thing to do. A lot of them end up in the police force, or they end up in the army, interrogation, that type of thing. They'll have like lots of junk food in the cupboard, like chocolate biscuits and Tim Tams, as we say here in Australia, but they won't eat it. They won't touch it, because Capricorns know that, I think it was Kate Moss said this actually, and I think she is a Capricorn. I think she might be, I'm not sure, but this is the projection of what I've learned about them, is that nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. So they'd rather have the highest sexual marketplace value of having a six-pack, because it's because getting a six-pack is hard that makes it worth something. All right, so I hope that made sense. So say, for example, in SMV, sexual marketplace value, a woman that isn't a slut in a Capricorn's eyes is of the value because no one else has had her yet. I hope that made sense. So yeah, they love whores, and they love using whores for sex, but they wouldn't ever wife a whore. There is a hypocritical side to the Capricorn as well, which I've noticed. They'll use other people to get their needs met, but don't you dare think about doing that to their daughter. That type of thing is very heavy. It's very dark. A lot of older Cancerian men will do that as well. I've learnt as well. They'll have sex with very young people just for their, the power play, because a younger person doesn't really have the skill sets that they do. They haven't lived long enough to learn about life. But don't you dare do that to their kids. All right, so it's fine for them to do it to other people, but don't do it to them. There is a hypocritical element to them as well. Okay, so it's the value of the rareness that makes it strong. If everyone can have something, Capricorn doesn't want it. Capricorn wants what is unobtainable. That's what turns them on. They aim right, they aim high. The darker side of a sea goat is a sadist. Like I mentioned, that kind of holding power over people's heads like Scorpio does. They will financially put people around them in debt to them. That kind of mafia standover energy is also part of the darker side, which I've mentioned in previous videos. So they'll put you in debt to them so that you could never speak badly about them on their behalf when they're not there. That level of dynamic is very strong with the fixed energy in the astrology. So Scorpios will put invisible strings over you. I call it the invisible string handshake. And when I do spiritual counseling, I talk about this a lot. Human dynamics are a dominance game. So we are all making projections on each other, which we never necessarily even stated or wrote down on a piece of paper and signed. Capricorn is a firm handshake and a look in the eye, and you will be paying them back one way or another. You will be. Okay, same with the Scorpions. And if you try and run away from them, they will turn on you. So NDAs come up around Scorpio and NDAs come up around Capricorn a lot. They don't want you to share what they've done to you publicly. So they'll probably, in a lawsuit, they'll probably get you to sign some level of document which says you can't speak about this ever again. All right? So when you're indebted to someone, you're underneath their dominance. And the dominance makes the Scorpion feel safe and it makes the Capricorns feel safe. And in a workplace, they will maneuver themselves in different positions to always get the upper hand over everyone. In astrology, Aries and Capricorn, the goat and the ram, are a very bad match. And a lot of them will battle it out to see who wins. And usually it is Capricorn because they're more strategic than an Aries at times, depending on where the Aries chart will be. A lot of Capricorn suicide, I've noticed as well. They become completely disenchanted with life, much like the Pisces, very prone to PTSD. And when they get to their 40s, if they've been traumatized by their own life too much, they just kind of shut down, like the Pisces do as well. One of the energies that I've learned in astrology, one of the things, Libra is the know-it-all, and Virgo tells everyone what's wrong with everything. That's how Virgo controls things. Capricorn control things by climbing up and putting power over you. They must always have something to hang over your head. Much like the Scorpio, they're tightly knit and intensely focused on leverage. They use leverage to up themselves one bit higher. So you may not see them a lot because it's much like the Libra. They're not in the front and center. They'll be in the back and then they won't move for a long period of time. And then all of a sudden, it's like the goat on the side of the mountain. All of a sudden, if you blink, you'll miss it. And it's like they get to the top of the mountain in 2 seconds. It's like bang. It's like, whoa. And everything, them sitting there and not moving, was them thinking about each step and each methodical movement pattern they were going to do to get to that next stage. And then they just do it. So this is, this is all Capricorn energy. So if you meet people with this level of thinking, then you'll know what you're dealing with here. They are very big on hypergamy. So hypergamy means they date up. They don't date down. They want to date winners. They want people that can go on that adventure and of achievement. I think I've shared this in previous videos. I did have a Capricorn friend for a while. We were sitting at the back of my house one day chatting and having very heavy chats like this and talking about life and, money and, everything. And I think we're talking about Putin and Russia and stuff. It's like over a glass of wine. And she was talking about how, some guy, is he into me? She's looking for that special someone. And it was so interesting to me. And I've thought this a lot about people with Capricorn in their, rising or moon even, is that she was asking me for relationship advice. And I remember looking at her and just saying, you're not like, for a partner to come into your life, you have to show them how they'd fit into your life. And she looked at me really like strangely and was blinking at me. And I'm like, you're so independent and so strong and so outspoken and so intense, and that's why I love you. But for a man to fit into your life, he has to have a way in. You've got no space in your calendar. If I looked at your calendar, your whole your week is all booked in. Where the hell would a boyfriend even fit if you're not going to make space for him? And I remember she looked at me and it was like I'd stabbed her in the heart because it was so true. And she looked at me and she said, "You're right." And I said, "Of course I'm right. You have to have a place where people can fit into you. You have an idolized version of a lover in a big house with a farm and chickens and goats, which is fine. But how are you going to get that person into your life if you can't even let him fit in there? He'll never be able to get in there to meet you, to date you, because you don't have that space. We have to fit into people's lives for them to fit in there, to even be there." And she'd been on her own for like 10 years. A lot of Capricorns will live on their own for a long time and then they just stop dating and give up because they are so used to being on their own for so long. Okay? All right, so that being said, I hope that made sense. Please leave me some comments below because I feel like I'm really getting into this. They're just hard workers, right? And I love that about them. Yeah, they've got that work ethic. They just want that. Structure creates a way for them to do what they have to do. So getting up, going to the gym, they're always working, they're always doing something, they're always trying to move forward. And I think there's a beauty to that, there's a residual resilience to them, if that makes sense. They can be very vengeful and they can hold grudges, but they'd rather just take it out in the gym and level up. And then, this is the sign that may not tell you that they love you every day, but they will keep you safe. Okay, they will put you in the castle and keep you in that castle for being safe. All right, so if you want someone that's going to gush over you, then this is not the one. All right, this is a survivor. This is like, Rocky, that type of thing. And they're about risk assessment. So if they meet you and you seem like too much of a risk, they'll abandon you. A lot of Capricorn men are closeted, I've noticed. A lot of them are bisexual and they will use gay men for sex because there's less risk of pregnancy. And it's a power play because straight people sit higher than gay people in society. So they'll always be on top. And they'll be able to use and experiment with people with no consequence, and then they discard them. They've got a very, very dark side to them. When they get rid of someone, it's like you're an experiment to them. You're a rat in a cage that they just play with when they feel like it, like a doll. Very, very dark aspect to this sign. And they would never, ever admit it to you, and you'd never get it out of them. They're very good at keeping secrets. This is a very secretive sign. Okay. Other than that, they love getting their hair cut. They love getting a fresh fade. The men are particularly sexy when they've got their hair cut and they're sitting in their suit. A lot of them will work on Wall Street, or they'll work in money and finance and accounting and banking. They want to be where the power is. They'll even position themselves into HR so they can learn about all of the secrets of the business and no one can hold that over them. It's all about self-protection. Same with the Cancers. A lot of them are lawyers. A lot of them will end up as bulldog lawyers, as it's said in the business. They might wind you up to make you hysterical so that you go off your head and lose your mind like a lunatic. Lunar tick, meaning moon. And then they'll just beat you with facts, and facts win. Logic wins. All right? Logical, strategic, beautiful people. And if you're out there listening, I adore you. I love Capricorns. I get along with you guys so well. You're not a sobbing mess about your childhood trauma. You take it and you work with it and you learn and you grow, and that's the beauty of them. A lot of runaway kids and deckhands on boats, like that show, it's on Bravo TV, that show Below Deck. A lot of them are all like high-end stewards. I think it's called a stewardess. They climb the ranks. They want to go higher on the system of the ladder by whatever means they can. All right? By whatever means possible. So lots and lots of love. But once they take you in and they find you as a life partner, you really do have a life partner, and they will stand by you and support you, provided that you're doing the work that you said you were going to do. This sign works on behavior and actions, not on words. Words mean nothing to this sign. You have to show them. You've got to prove it. Okay, they're not a theorist. They're a realist. And there is an iron will to them that is like building towers, making things. A lot of them are like World War II survivors, that type of thing. So that's the sea goat. Underneath all of this, I just want to say as well that there is a very soft side to them as well. They do have a gentleness. A lot of them have, once you get past the walls that they've put up, they have a mellowness to them and a kindness to them that is sweet and thoughtful, and they'll buy you flowers and, you know, kiss your neck and that type of thing. Okay, so there is a very beautiful side to them. Once they let you in and they decide you're the one, then you're the one. They will keep you safe from everything but them. All right? If you see a man with slicked hair, they usually hold on to their hair. A lot of Capricorns, like Scorpions, do lose their hair early in life, but they still look hot. They rock the bald look. Lots of love. If you'd like to book me for a reading, please go to my website and I can look at your chart very deeply. And I look forward to hearing from you. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're a Capricorn or you've got any Capricorns in your big three, then leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. It's been so cool doing this, and I've really spoken from my heart today. So send me some love, send me some energy. I want to hear from you guys. Lots of love. Okay, bye, bye, bye.